Phuthuma Nhleko was really the guy who drove it. He then left. He's now back as chairman, which is interesting. But for the moment, it seems they now want to be a dividend payer and they want to puff up the margins. They've got this fabulous position in Nigeria, which has got to be the best market for this kind of product with a rapidly growing population. But
we just got to say 160 million consumers.
Well, it's actually over 200 million now. So they've crested the point. And you know, if you do the math, that means 1 in 80 humans on the planet.
Where did you get that stat from? We've got our Nigerian team here, and they've been talking about 160 million consumers.
Oh, yes, no, beg your pardon. I'm talking about the total number of customers that MTN has across the whole world.
Oh, I'm talking about 160 million consumers
people in Nigeria.
Please follow me.
Look, they've got the dominant market share, like 50% or something. But you know that what I was going to say is 1 in 80 humans on the planet, the entire planet, are MTN customers. So it really is putting its head up there as one of the world's preeminent kind of telecoms brands.
David, you're still not looking enthusiastic. He's throwing numbers around.
I'm distinctly enthusiastic. My enthusiasm.
This is your enthusiastic face.
Yes, it is. MTN is just by far your best exposure to Africa if you just want broad African consumers in your portfolio. I think it's got to be where the world grows the fastest over the next probably 30 or 40 years. You know, we've seen China, the population has now started to stabilize. Much of Southeast Asia is the same. African population is still booming. We've got, in sub-Saharan Africa, half the people roughly are 18 years or younger. And they're all going to become consumers in the next couple of decades. And that's just going to transform, I think, many, many businesses. And of course, politics is getting a little bit better and a bit more stable.
Paul, where are we on this share price? It looked very high there.
Yeah, it's sort of drifting around the 180. Remember, it fell back to 180-ish with the announcement that the CFO was basically throwing in the towel because of questions about corporate governance. It seems to have bounced back off of that. There was also that drama around whether or not they'd paid bribes to get into the Iranian market. That largely seems to have been dispelled, and the Turkcell case went away. But this is the most important thing.
Bad news stories seem to go away.
The good news story that we must not miss here is that Iran has had an election, and a new, much more moderate individual by the name of Hassan Rouhani has been elected president. And it appears that Ayatollah Khamenei, who's the real decision maker there, has decided that the path of having to face down Western sanctions forever, very bad idea. So there's a major warming up of relations with regard to Iran and the rest of the world, which has stabilized the Iranian currency and which looks as though that thing may now suddenly start looking like a good place to have a business again.
Well, to Paul's point earlier, David, could this take the stock above 200 Rand?
I don't know if Iran itself can do that. I think it will certainly play a part. I fully agree with what Paul has to say there. Remember, in international politics, these things do move quite slowly. Your most important thing is really what happens to that Iranian currency, because that basically halved a little more than a year ago and took it from being about 10% of MTN's life down to about 5% of MTN's life. But certainly a fantastic business. They make great margins there. Prices are regulated by the government, so you don't need to worry about that. And the competition is fairly limited.
Yeah, I want to come back to the negative comment that I made a moment ago, and you swept it under the carpet.
Yes,
that is that these bad news stories, and they come up on a regular basis around MTN, just seem to disappear into thin air. What's that all about?
Well, I don't know. I suppose to some extent when emerging market investors look at their choices, they understand that a company like this has lots of different country operations, that individually things could go bad. You know, they have a big business in Swaziland. That's not exactly a wonderful...
Let me give you an example. The CFO story. I mean, that was it. We all speculated about it. We wanted a little more clarity and nothing.
Well, to be fair, we are still waiting for a research report which is going to come, which was done by, I don't know, someone like Ernst & Young's or Warsmans or someone was appointed to look into it. But
you're sure that report's coming? They
sort of leaked via the media that it wasn't actually to do with anything important. And so everybody sort of put it behind them and moved on. Maybe it's just that people understand that in a context like this, there are these kinds of stories. The management team seems very good at dealing with them, putting it out there, making their excuses,
that's my point,
announcing
precisely.
their processes, and off you go.
David, your thoughts on this? The management team is very good at dealing with bad news?
Yeah, be careful. It's a business that's very much in the spotlight. And accordingly, a lot of these stories do get blown up a little bit.
And now you blame the journalists.
We don't know the truth at this point in time around why Nazir Patel resigned as CFO. if what the folks at the company are saying is to be believed, then really it's nothing particularly
And
exciting.
who cares with the stock trading at around 180 Rand anyway? Paul, hot or not on MTN?
Look, my big worry was that it was in fact something about, having smuggled gold for grain and money out of Iran and so on. But that whole thing seems to be, slowing down, and we were assured by management that was not the case. So back to business fundamentals, we've got 200 million customers, we've got strong average revenue per users, we've got a dominant position in Nigeria, we've got data sales opportunities in South Africa and these other markets.
We know you like the stock.
Put
Hot
all
or
of that
not on
together,
MTN?
definitely hot at current levels.
David, hot or not?
Hot.